Hi guys, we got another build overview to go over here. We got an account that is a little bit more on the starting outside, and according to the notes, they have 2 div, 10 exalt, and 21,000 gold to work with. 21,000 gold's a little unfortunate. It's going to be a little bit difficult to respec, but we will figure things out. It will be fine and it will work out. I think we got this. We're going to help you out. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what you got, and here we go. So first, Cold Mastery, Fire Mastery, Lightning Mastery, all fits perfect for Unbound Avatar, not really anything better to go in there. Primal Armament, Martial Tempo, Inspiration, Neural Overload. Do you have... Okay, so you got Electrocute on your Charged Staff, you put Neural Overload on your Tempest Flurry. I'm not a big fan of that. One that would definitely help, because Neural Overload is giving your Tempest Flurry a big mana multiplier that isn't really... I mean, it's going to help get the Electrocutes off from Charge Staff, but it'd be better because you could just take Persistence straight off of Charge Staff. Unfortunately, and I've tested this now, Persistence does not add any duration to your Charge Staff at all. So put Neural Overload on for Persistence, and for Tempest Flurry, for what you got now, Rage is probably the best, because I am assuming you wouldn't have jewels with big Rage on it. I'll just quickly check if you got any red jewels. These look blue, green. Is this a Rage? You got 1 Rage on melee hit, so you are going to be generating a little bit, but it's going to be a little slow. It's really nice that you got one. It's a super nice quality of life. I like it a lot. I wish I could fit it into what I have now, but I feel like if you drop Persistence off Charged Staff, you could put it on Unbound Avatar for now, because you probably have the slot for free. Put Neural Overload on Charged Staff, Rage on Tempest Flurry, and it'll help you a lot. And that is a no-cost, immediate win for you. It might not be the biggest damage numbers you're seeing right away, but it'll be a huge quality of life thing, and that Rage Jewel will also be helping a lot when you hit with things that aren't Tempest Flurry and Charged Staff to keep the Rage going. Your Tempest Spell, you got Rage Forge, Close Combat, Concentrated Effect, Rising Tempest. Really good combo, and Rage Forge is much better for yours as well, because you only take 3 hits to get enough rage to get the bell going instead of 4. That is fantastic. I wish there wasn't an internal cooldown with rage, but you are doing good right there. This looks fantastic. If you ever get the 6th slot here, I like Potential. It is very good. Immolate is also very good. There's a lot of options that you can go for. I think this right now is set up perfectly. For Herald of Thunder, Glaciation, Ambush, Cold Infusion, very good. I would say try to get the 4th slot to get, I can't remember the name right now, Ice Bite, I believe. Yeah, Ice Bite, because that will help you out immensely. I think they're about 30 Exalt or 20 Exalt right now for the Jeweler's Orbs, so even if you just got the 1, it might be helpful. We're trying to work within your budget here, but this would help out a lot. The Ice Bite and Innervate on these help incredibly. I'd say just get the 1 for Herald of Thunder. For right now, drop Conduction, because you're probably going to be shocking. Okay, so you still got these gloves on here. I know you messaged today showing that you had just bought a Hands of Wisdom in action, so that must be what one little update to do. These actually aren't bad gloves at all. It's just Hands of Wisdom in action are much better. But yeah, I think your best bet right now is drop Conduction for Innervate and get 1 more jewel here for Ice Bite. It will immensely help you out. Alternatively, if you can't afford it, when you're swapping Neural Overload onto Charge Staff and dropping Persistence, instead you could also put Innervate here. That is one other option. It is much better on the Heralds, but it is an option if you're currently jewel slot starved, and it would save you with a few Exalt. Now Grim Feast here, great skill, don't need anything else with it. Combat Frenzy, Perfusion, Precision, Clarity. I don't know what your spirit situation is like. If you're feeling a little bit spirit starved, feel like you could use a skill. Precision is the one you could drop most likely, because you're going to have so much accuracy from your decks, but it's not hurting you having it on at all. It's just If you're able to take it off, that would be good for you if it gave you like another aura per se. So let's just check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mana Remnants 9 with Hand Chayula, so this is your full setup. You got Sniper's Mark with Blind on here. You should, if you're going to use Hand of Chayula, you should also add a curse, because you got the mark, which is great, but also add a curse. So something like Temporal Chains is really nice because it slows down the enemy, including the bosses. Or Enfeeble is the other good one that reduces the damage they do to you, which could also be really good against bosses if you're getting hit. I prefer Temp Chains because if they're moving slower, they're less likely to hit you. Blind is good because it works with the Hand of Chayula, but if you're wanting to use Blind, is there... I mean, it might be better for Charge Staff. The only reason... Actually, no. You are pure energy shield base. So, unfortunately, Blind isn't really going to be doing too much for you because what it does is it reduces the monster's chance to hit you and essentially boosts the effectiveness of your evasion, and since you have no evasion, Blind doesn't really do that much. So if I can, it won't let me unfortunately. But yeah, Blind is an amazing skill if you have evasion. If you don't, it's just not the best. So I would suggest, yeah, swapping this out for probably Temporal Chains, and then putting on the lowest level Jeweler's Orb, the lesser Jeweler's Orb, and then putting on the increased effect of Curses gem. I can't remember what it's called, but that will help make both the mark and the curse better. Now your Pillar Staff, obviously we're working within a budget here, and this one here is unfortunately 11 instead of 12 damage for 5 strength, but it's still very good, so it's definitely not going to hurt you. Slot in some crit damage jewels for the most damage, or else if you want the, well, crit damage is what you should probably slot in. The alternative is attack speed, which is much, much less damage, but it allows you to move around a little bit faster with good attack speed scaling. You're not quite at that level yet to worry about that, and the extra attack speed also heavily increases how much mana consumption you do. So definitely go with the crit damage. I don't know what level you are yet. I should quickly take a look. Oh, you're not bad. You look like you're high 80s, 88 it looks like. So yeah, definitely crit damage then. Obviously, these aren't the gloves that you have because you just posted that you got the Hands of Wisdom in action. So you have no issues there. Keep rocking them. Even these gloves, they're not bad at all. It would have been nicer to get a few extra stats on it, but 2-level melee skills, while it increases your mana consumption, it does increase the damage, and that flat is very nice, but you're going to notice a massive increase to your skills right away. This belt is unfortunately really, really bad. You got a nice fire res roll, but nothing else. For extremely little, probably as little as 5 exalts, you could get a belt with 2 resistances and an attribute. If you were wanting a really good belt, you'd probably be paying a div, but you don't need to worry about that quite yet. Yeah, I was looking at some today, and they are dirt cheap for a decent belt at this point. So definitely look to replace this. Unfortunately, belts don't have that many good stats until you get Ingenuity, and it's just because rings have amazing stats. So all you need to worry about is resistances, some attributes on it. So get 3 good suffixes. That's your number 1. Number 2, probably look to get something like mana, or maybe even armor on it if they're going to make armor better, but mana is the only one that really helps you because that big pool helps you regenerate a little bit faster, and also increases how much you regenerate with a mana on kill jewel. So look for those. But yeah, this needs to go. These boots have really nice movement speed. It's actually a decent flat evasion energy shield and an okay percent. It's just as a level 59 base, and the suffixes are 2 of 3. And unfortunately, with this build, suffixes are really important. The boots are going to be hard, but like these aren't bad. I don't see too much of a problem with them other than the fact that they're on a bad base. If these were on a better base with the same stats, you'd be getting a lot more evasion energy shield. They'd be a lot nicer. But that is something for future. Right now, I'm definitely seeing the belt. Also, the pulse recline. It is a really good ring starting out. I hope it still sells for div, because if you can sell this for div, it'll help you out a lot. Because unfortunately, with the Herald tech, it's just not needed anymore. Like, it's super convenient, but if you're able to get it working without, it's so much better. But to do that, okay, this ring is actually quite nice. You got physical damage to attacks and fire, which are both good mods to have for the damage scaling. You got a little bit of attributes, and you got really nice resistances on it. So this ring is great, but you're rolling the wrong. Well, yeah, you're definitely rolling the wrong thing with physical mods. You got really two options to roll here. It's a shame that the lightning resist and cold resist don't correlate to either of the damage types. You could go for the cold or lightning res if you need more resistances of one type to bring that attribute up, or that quality up, or else you could roll with the quality attacks to make the adds physical damage or fire damage better. And the lightning one would be a little expensive. The cold one's not as expensive. I think you can get like 8 cold for an exalt, so you'd spend 2 or 3 exalt to fully quality it up. That's if you don't already have them. But the attack ones are really cheap. If you got those, you would, in one exalt, you'd fully quality the item, and it would be better than the physical mods. And then this, it just, if you had this copy and pasted, but with a cold damage on it, any of it cold, not percent cold, but flat cold, it would help you incredibly. And also look for higher attributes, obviously, but with 2 div and 40x, you're not going to be able to get too much. With that said, though, this is a fairly good ring for the budget that you're going, and you can find something of this quality, or maybe even a little bit better, for like 10 exalt most likely. I was very surprised at how cheap some of the mid-tier ones are, because people are only going for the tippy top. If you get something that's 75% of the way there, you'll be paying 10% of the cost, and so that is very, very nice. So yeah, swap out the pulse recline with something with flat cold damage, and then you'll be able to run the Herald tech if you get pretty much just like one more node in there. Like, if you could get one for both, it'd be nice, because then you could get long shot, and then unfortunately drop conduction, and then get both ice bite and innervate. That would help you quite a bit. Now for your body armor, it's a decent energy shield base. It's got lightning, fire, and int. Okay, this is quite nice. It's obviously a triple energy shield roll. There's the energy shield that rolls with life on it, so that's probably what that is. This is quite nice, and it's got a increased energy shield roll on it as well. To get better than this, you're spending at least 50 exalts to multiple div. So this is probably your best piece, along with your, well, I mean, you just bought the gloves. Your boots, if they're a better base, they'd be right up there too. This base will hold you off for a little bit. It's not bad at all. It's got good base, everything. It should work. It should definitely work. Ooh. Everybody's having such nice amulets. It's surprising. 50% increased maximum energy shield, fantastic. The maximum mana and percent maximum mana definitely won't hurt you. It's got a decent all attributes and lots of resistances. This is quite nice. I know you add the mana modifiers. It's kind of unfortunate. That's, I think, the most expensive catalyst, and it's doing the least for you. Getting 20% attributes, it would bring you up to 14. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 6 attributes will potentially give you quite a bit. It's crazy how much it ends up scaling as you go higher and higher, especially with using the Black Sun Crest. This isn't a bad Black Sun Crest. That 8% strength is a little unfortunate, but you got near max dex and int, so not bad. It's a pretty good find. Uh, it probably is helping you quite a bit. Depending on if you have survivability issues, you should probably try to swap this out for another helmet. Probably either evasion energy shield, but I don't. Unless you went with another split chest here, you wouldn't get enough evasion with what you got. So probably straight energy shield, unless you wanted to hit the attributes, then you could go for a split base. Like I know I have a split because I hit attributes on both, but if you're not worried about that, if you're worried about the res right now, go for pure energy shield. Excuse me, hiccups. Oh, hopefully that goes away. So yeah, honestly, not nearly as bad as I was expecting. The belt though, really bad. This does need to go. This is really solid for its level. It's just unfortunately a bad base. Same thing with this guy. Really, really, really solid. This is, aside from the uniques, I think this is probably your best piece. Like, I'm quite impressed with this, and this here is pretty dang good too. The fire damage is going to ignite the bell to do lots for the bosses. Like, it's going to do super damage for bossing. All you need is a little bit of a flat cold on this ring whenever you get it, and it's going to help you immensely. Replace the pulse decline. And this amulet probably is close to as good as the chest, so that's not an issue. The more evasion or more energy shield you're going to get, the better. So I think you should probably look to go with a pure energy shield helmet instead of the black slink crest, especially since you do not currently have big attributes. Like, you're missing it on the belt, you're missing it on this ring except for the 15, but it's not much. This is good, this is good. Like, if you just got flat there, it would help. And like, there's a lot of room to improve for sure, but you're doing pretty solid with what you got. Like, yeah, not bad at all. For 2 div, yeah, good job. Actually, Atlas tree here first. You got a bit of a weird Atlas tree for sure. So, I would definitely look into it for maybe because you have rarity and quantity of waystones. Maybe you're still at a point where you're having trouble maintaining, so I understand coming down here. Once you get to a point when you have the plus or the tier 16 maps unlocked and are able to kill tier 16 bosses, even if it's tier 15, tier 14, you're going to be getting a lot of tier 15 maps, and then you will not need these. Leave it kind of how you have it for now, but like, if you get to the point where you're trying to start wanting to do a few corrupted maps, but you don't have the currency for it, then I'd say take off these, and you're probably going to use the shrine to help you survive for the time being. So maybe something like this for now would be a little bit more helpful. You don't need these, but maybe getting some more precursor tablets. If you need maps, you probably need precursor tablets. For right now, I feel like this could be a little bit better for you for maintaining what you need if you're trying to do 2d16 maps. If you're not, ignore this bit. Stay down here. How many points? I need 1 more point. So, hey kitty. Drop this and come down like that. This would probably do more work for you, coming this way, dropping the little pack size nodes. I know the pack size is nice, but it's absolutely not required. When you get a little bit more comfortable, you'll notice that magic monsters don't really add much for loot, but they are decent for experience at the early levels, but it seems to be you're higher than that. So when you get a little bit higher uh, and safer, you could probably do something like this, where you come down to get the effect of waystones, and then come back up, getting all this rarity over there. This thing is useless, unfortunately. You can hit this guy. I got 7 points left, so you could probably come here to double the effect of the precursors. 1 more point left. With all of this, 1 more point. You might be tempted to get the magic chest, but I think quantity of items in your maps is better, honestly. This here is a little bit more rippy, but when you get to a higher level, this will help you out because the rare monsters give a lot more loot, a lot more currency. This is where the money is made. And then coming here for increased effect of explicit modifiers on your waystones for each effect. That means the more mods on the waystones, the more it will juice rarity and quantity if you rolled it, which is great. Hi, kitty. What you doing, buddy? Oh, I know, I know. Uh, then obviously rarity and quantity is nice, even if it's just little bits. It's just stacking the little bits that you can get. More quantity, kitty. More quantity of waystones in your maps. That will help you out with sustain. Definitely not the most important thing, but you kind of go through it to get all these nice nodes. Then you stick with the rare monsters. This is how you get the big loot drops. The rare monsters is where the money's at. Then here with the chance to doubling your prefixes and suffixes, super helpful. Same thing right here. Sorry, this one is increased effect of them. And then right here again, increased effect per precursor tower affecting a map. That means if you're doing precursor juicing with all the towers, it'll help. If you don't want to do that, you can take it off, come down here for the quantity of precursor tablets if you need it. So that's my thought process. Right now, Resonant is not worth it, but that could help you out. And now for your skill tree. So obviously, not too much to talk about with the Ascendancy. This looks really good. If you're having trouble surviving, you could go with Meditate, or if you really find yourself not using Avatar, you could come down for I Am the Thunder, but this is really good. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Hopefully they buff Elemental Expression, make it better, make that an option, but right now, your passive tree, you're coming up here for the stun threshold, so obviously you're having troubles with stuns. This one makes me sad because it's kind of so required to survive, but even then it doesn't feel the most consistent with significant investment. It makes me really sad. I am noticing... Oh, kitty, kitty, kitty. None of that, buddy. None of that. I'm noticing that you are a high energy shield investment with really good stuff. Obviously, it could be more and better. And you have no chaos res at all, so that could be quite scary because you do not have chaos inoculation. You should probably grab that for things that would be worthy of dropping to get chaos inoculation. You are not doing the dodge roll tech, so I would not suggest dropping resonance unless you're wanting to put that on. You do have a little bit higher reduced all res for your controlled metamorphosis. You could get something at about the 7 or 8. I actually bought a -6 mid-large for 1 divine the other day. So they do exist, but we're working with a really limited budget, so I'm not trying to swap that kind of gear yet. We've already gone over the belt and the ring, and that is number 1, and the same with the helmet. That's probably all of the currency we have to work with right now, especially if we need to get 1 greater orb. So for working with what we got, hope you have the res. You're doing pretty good with proficiency Falcon Technique. It's a great node, great tech. I like it a lot. Right here, you got 1 point into increased crit chance, and that should definitely go into Chaos Inoculation. You got all these crit chance nodes to get you there. Obviously, you're not coming down here yet. Depending on how things are looking. It feels like you spent more points than you actually did, but I guess that's just because you had to come up here for self-mortification. Depending on what your survivability is looking like, and I'm guessing it's kind of rough because unfortunately you have the Black Sun Crest helmet and a little bit lower level boots, you're gonna need to rely on a little bit more scaling for defenses. Since you do have some evasion, it might be worth coming into here, taking these 2 points instead of the crit right now, just to keep you alive. Obviously, you really need to get Chaos Inoculation. I don't know it. Well, actually, your offenses are probably looking a heck of a lot better now that you got the right gloves. And I guess now we got to check the jewels. Unfortunately, no matter what we see with the jewels, it'll be a little bit hard to. Like the increased damage that hits against rares and uniques is a good mod, but you don't need mana recovery from Flask. Just straight mana recovery is a heck of a lot better because Flasks run out. And Herald skills deal increased damage will not be required whatsoever, because once you get a little bit of damage scaling, they'll just instantly pop screens. And until then, that little bit of Herald damage won't matter. Also, the Herald skills doesn't increase your normal ability skills, but this increased weapon damage increases everything, including your Herald. So this is where you'll get the vast majority of your scaling from. So this jewel, unfortunately, will need to be replaced. This jewel is much better, but still not very good, because damaging ailments, we don't really have anything like that, and area of effective curses just doesn't matter if you're using Hand of Jayula, so it's only doing on the target. But yeah, the increased energy shield is nice, but that is just unfortunately not it. You're probably going to find pretty decent little jewel upgrades for about 5 exalt, 10 exalt. I'm selling a bunch of really low quality ones that I don't even look at for 15, so if I'm doing that, people are doing it for even cheaper and nobody's even looking at those, so you'll find some upgrades to these for sure. This one here, you don't have a focus, so it's not giving you any increased energy shield. You aren't going to have much freeze build up, so you don't need to worry about that. You don't have much cold damage, so that's unfortunate. And this one with shock duration is also not necessary, because you're going to have so much shock the moment you attack somebody with the gloves that you got that these just don't matter. Unfortunately, this jewel is your worst one. It's doing absolutely nothing for you. Now this jewel, rage on melee hit, melee damage. The totem and life regen aren't doing anything for you either, but at least you got two nice mods with the melee damage and rage on hit. Excuse me. If you could get one with also elemental damage, then it would be 3 mods, but all the increased damage mods are the least useful, but the rage on melee hit is a very, very nice mod. The best way to get any sort of rage on melee hit, though, is a timeless jewel with rage on melee hit. The rest of them don't really seem to matter what they are, but you can get 2 or 3 nodes with rage on melee hit to make it feel really good for the cost of 1 jewel. So if you're able to find one, it's a nightmare to find them right now, but if you're able to, it'd be much, much better than this. And it would keep you going with that rage gen. I don't know how much they cost. I cannot seem to find them anywhere. This is definitely your best jewel by a landslide. This is quite nice. It's got 4 useful mods, and some of them are even rolled quite nicely. Unfortunately, the corrupt didn't hit any attributes. None of your jewels are corrupted for attributes, which will give you a monster amount of scaling for everything. You will need to look into that right now, but buying it straight out is about a div to 2 divs a jewel. I've bought all mine for about a div. I think I spent 3 on a really, really good one, and that was the only one I spent more than a div on. So when you do start getting some income, that'll be helpful. This one here, the mana regen is nice. Energy recharge rate is kind of nice. It's definitely not the best stat, but it's for sure helpful. And critical damage is pretty nice too. Increased cold damage, again, it does a little bit, but not much. Like, at least it's 4 mods. If you got some jewels that are much more priority to replace, so this one here, I'd say just corrupt and see what happens, and if it kind of gets bricked, then oh well. Like, it's probably your second best one right now, but it's still very much so needing to be replaced. And then increased critical damage for attacks, increased attacks. The damage with bows and mana recovery from flask is unfortunately useless. So what you're going to be looking for all your jewels as like a stretch goal, unfortunately, because they're expensive if you buy them outright, but just keep an eye, is number 1, it needs to have a corrupted attribute, preferably at least 7 attributes. 8 to 10 is better. If you can get a full 10, that's best, obviously. The best mods on all of your jewels are probably blue, with maximum energy shield to stun threshold, crit chance, crit damage. Mana on kill is extremely important to have at least one. Then you can get things like the energy shield recharge rate and mana regen. All of those are really, really nice. There's a few other good ones too. You don't need to worry too much about things like elemental damage or lightning damage, but that's there. The green ones are probably your second best because they can also get crit chance and crit damage, but for attacks. So obviously you see this one says critical damage bonus for attacks. It can do the same thing with crit chance, and it can roll very slightly higher, 1% higher than the blue ones. Uh, but the useful mods on the green ones are much less. Like they do have attack speed, but not a big deal. Because it only goes, I think, 2 to 3. It might be 2 to 4, but it's still, you're going to have enough attack speed that you don't need to worry about it. It can roll lightning damage and I believe cold and fire, but you don't need to worry about, I actually think just lightning damage. But that is a decent roll, but you're going to have enough damage scaling as well. For utility, there's one really good one to go with the crit chance, crit damage that it has, and that's move speed. Green ones are the only ones that are able to roll move speed, and that's incredible. It's kind of hard to get move speed everywhere. There's just really this node, and then if you're wanting to like anoint something, if this was large, you could get this 2%, but it's not really that big of a deal at all. Everything else is just really far out of the way. So, yeah, I'd say if you are wanting to stick with green, make sure it's got at least crit chance on it. Try to find crit damage, and definitely toss on move speed to make it feel special. And they all absolutely need corrupted attributes when you're trying to top out your build. And then having one red jewel, preferably timeless, to get rage on melee hit is nice. This isn't a bad thing at all. I've, I know I ended up speccing really hard into the blue jewels for the uh, stun threshold from energy shield, but there's still some mobs that can stun me, specifically delirium or simulacrum ones. So it's potentially better to go with the utility of one good red timeless for the rage, just for the utility it gives you, and then focus on just getting the crit chance and energy shield everywhere else. And then if you have mana issues, get mana regen. And then yeah, obviously attributes, attributes, attributes everywhere. Uh, yeah. So final thoughts. Did pretty good. Your jewels are mostly good. You got a little bit of oddities with like neural overload here, and persistence on charged staff when it doesn't quite work. Uh, I really like your Tempest Spell. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Your Heralds just need a little bit more jewel slots just to kind of fix it up, and for the time being, sacrifice Conduction on Herald Device. You got Mana Remnants on here. You could probably find something a little bit better for a skill to use, but if you're having mana issues, this will definitely do some serious work in maps for keeping you topped up. But doing a single mana on kill jewel will do just so much work that you won't even need this. Then you Hand of Chayula, add on an actual curse and curse effect. And for your gear, this ring and this belt will be the first two things to go, and then this helmet. After that, it's kind of like a little bit of slowly upgrading everything over time. And drop this mana flask. I'm glad I looked at that. 15% mana recovered from life when used. As soon as you grab Chaos Inoculation, if you use that, the one life you have will be taken away and you'll instantly die. So that's everything. Hopefully it helps. You guys have a great night. See ya.